Ask for it. Here it is. It's a podcast from Apathetic Enthusiasm.
Coming to you live from a world where the Vindicators aren't just an episode in Season 3. No. It's not just a comic from Oni Press. No. It's also a brand new web series premiering soon from executive producers Sarah Carbiener and Erica Rosbe. And we're talking them live tonight on Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast.
Hey everybody, I'm Travis.
Hey everybody, I am Brandon, and welcome to Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast.
We're gonna have to redo the graphic, and I'm just gonna put an in parentheses in all of our graphics, because we are unofficial, but I mean, how much more official does it get, right?
Yeah.
If you find a more official podcast, let us know. And they will be getting our letters. Anyway, thank you.
We're forwarding them our letters. Like, let us know who's more official, and we will forward all of our correspondence to their inbox.
All the listener suggestions and short outs, we're just gonna forward those right along. They will be getting our letters. But if you want to send us letters, there's many ways that you can do that. You can obviously follow us on the social internet over at Twitter at Rick and Morty Pod, on Facebook.com/Rick and Morty Podcast, or send us an email. Send us your letters at rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com. We are all over the web, over on Reddit, rickandmortypodcast.reddit.com. You can also find us on the official Rick and Morty subreddit with 2 million other Redditors? So many Redditors.
So many.
rickandmorty.reddit.com. And then you can find this show on our website, rickandmortypod.com. We are currently streaming live right in your eye holes over at twitch.tv/apathetic enthusiasm, or you can catch video versions of the show after we've recorded them over at youtube.com/apathetic enthusiasm. Finally, you can support the show directly with more than just your ears, with more than just your love, over at patreon.com/apathetic enthusiasm. You can support us there, or go get a t-shirt with our cartoon faces on it over at tpublic.com/stores/interdimensional-RSS. Just write it down. Just write it down. You'll
write it down. Maybe we'll someday we'll post that link again more than like once every year. I think it's like an annual requirement.
It is our annual tradition, Brandon, that we post the TeePublic link only once and no more.
Only once at the beginning of December. You will see the link on the gleam of the new moon.
At the winter solstice, we shall post our link. Only one time, no more, no less.
And we make sure it is part of a sale to get you the benefits of an RSS listener.
Yeah, benefits for those better fits. That's right. Only
TeePublic.
Yeah,
I like it.
I made that up. I just made that up.
Did you make that up? Because
yeah.
I want to talk to whoever our TeePublic sponsor is.
If you would like to advertise with Interdimensional RSS and have catchy slogans like that made for yourself, send us an email at rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com.
Check this out. Check this out, Travis.
You asked for it. Here it is.
It's TeePublic.
Yeah. So, happy that you're here. This is it. This is the last episode of Interdimensional RSS before Season 5 premieres. I cannot believe it. The time has finally come. We have so much to talk about in this episode, so we should waste no more time and get immediately into semi-pertinent news.
Slide. Wow. Slide. Wow. Slide. Semi. Wow. Pertinent news. A pertinent news. There it is.
It's wonderful. Great job. Great job, Brandon. Well, yes, semi-pertinent news. We have very pertinent news coming up. Obviously, like we just mentioned, Season 5, Rick and Morty, coming up, and it will be debuting on what Adult Swim is calling #Global Rick and Morty Day. That will be June 20th, where they will be celebrating. I don't know. Like, are there holidays, like official holidays, all over the world celebrating Global Rick and Morty Day? Like, does that? Do they send letters or something? How does that work?
Well, if you're an American, there's nothing else going on that day across the nation. Not a single thing,
Certainly.
especially not celebrating, the male figures in our lives.
Yeah, this is just another attempt to bring down the patriarchy. Out with Father's Day, in with Global Rick and Morty Day, and I'm here for it. So I know that Adult Swim is doing a bunch of stuff to celebrate the event. There is a marathon this weekend. I think that's Friday night on Adult Swim, where I think they're showing all 4 seasons of the show. So if for some reason you've missed an episode or all of the episodes, that's a great opportunity to catch up. Assuming you want to watch every episode all at once. Also, for the first time ever, Adult Swim will premiere the first episode from space.
Space.
They are launching Rick's space cruiser 150,000 feet into the atmosphere. So you can. That's a thing they're doing. You can see.
We can be one together.
Bowie's in space.
Without hatred, stars are. Okay.
Anyway,
forget the words all of a sudden.
Anyways, Are you excited? Are you gonna go out to the store and get yourself a Global Rick and Morty Day card to give to your dad or something?
Yeah. I plan on playing a disc golf with my dad on Saturday. So I'm not going to get him anything for actual Rick and Morty, Global Rick and Morty Day. But I did notice at Safeway or Vaughn's or Ralph's or Piggly Wiggly, wherever you shop, that they did replace all the Father's Day stuff with Global Rick and Morty Day cards.
Time. It is about time.
Good catch on that. I think that's really cool. Them shooting up a to premiere the episode in the upper atmosphere, basically, space. That's really, really cool. And we're going to talk about this in a second, but the other part of the Global Rick and Morty Day is kind of cool too, that we've been showing. I mean, what do you think, right? Like, why is it Global Rick and Morty Day? Do you think? Because I don't know if the episode is premiering to all the other countries too.
You know what? You just in the last year and a half that we've had, everything's got to go global, right? You can't keep things locked down.
That's right.
You got to just let them out there. So
yeah.
So for the sake of everyone on the planet and the fact that Rick and Morty now transcends this planet and goes out into space, it has to be a Global Rick and Morty Day. So and the other thing that the other bit of news is, of course, the Go Rick Yourself website. You can go to gorickyourself.com, and this is an opportunity where you can enter the Rick and Morty universe for yourself by customizing your own Rick and Morty character. If you follow us on social media, you have probably seen our versions of Ricking Yourself. Brandon, you've got some real. When you sent me yours, I was like, "That's Brandon. That's a little poopy Brandon head right there." It looks great.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about the Go Rick Yourself, that it just occurred to me as going out there on Reddit, going out there on Pinterest or Imgur, all these places. There are people who specialize in ricking you, right?
Yeah.
You can you pay them, and then they draw you, and they put you in front of a portal, they put you in front of the background, whatever.
They listen to your podcast, and then they just draw pictures of you.
Yeah, Daticus, shout out
Daticus.
But now Adult Swim Rick and Morty has basically given you this the free of charge.
Yeah.
So shout out to all those out of work Rick and Morty caricature artists who are being like, "Go Rick yourself, you mother Rickers."
It's just like when you make a living in graphic design and then some programmer makes a website that like just generates a logo for your business in like 8 easy clicks. And all these custom designers are like, my work has value. It definitely does. I value all. I got some beef, Brandon. Can I bring the beef?
You can bring the beef. Yeah. You are a studied graphic design artist, and this is personal for you.
It's not so much the value of creative arts, which tune into an episode of Apathetic Enthusiasm for all of my thoughts. But there are a lot of celebrities, a lot of people associated with Rick and Morty. You have your Justin Roilands, your Dan Harmons. I believe Jim Gaffigan is going to be doing a voice this season for an episode. He posted a Go Rick Yourself image on his social media. All of these people are sharing their Go Rick Yourselves, but if you look at the characters that they're sharing and then you go to Go Rick Yourself and try to recreate these characters, you can't do it. You can't
do it. There are some special characters in there, and it's like, you know what? I think that was specially designed for you.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see a body shape like that.
I think you sent this to William Street, and this was a custom Rick. Yeah.
And Brian Newton's like, I drew that. I drew that for
guys. They've had me locked in a house for the last year and a half, just drawing celebrities as Rick and Morty characters.
Help! Call the police.
Is the pandemic real? Anyway, yeah. So you can go Rick Yourself if you have been to this site and managed to actually export your image from Go Rick Yourself. Share it with us. Send us a tweet at Rick and Morty Pod. We would love to see your Rick and Morty creations. You can also go to our Instagram, Rick and Morty Podcast, I think is the one.
Yeah, that's the one.
And you can see our Rick and Morty creations out there. Yeah, Brandon, are you anything else to say about Ricking yourself?
I don't. I want to bring up this next little bit. Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, first thing I do is I go to Twitter, right? And I'm scrolling through Twitter, and because I'm in bed with my wife, you know, she's sleeping. I don't want to wake her up. I'll see things that are playing, that are videos, and I'm like, okay, there's a thing, but I don't want to listen to it right now because I don't want to wake her up. This next little bit is something I saw on Twitter that I did not want to watch because I didn't want to wake my wife up. But then I never got back to it, and it is Soulja Boy freestyle Rick rapping, right?
Yeah. So this is all over social media over the last few days. It ties into some semi-pertinent news that we shared in our last episode, where Rick is now a playable character in Fortnite. You can also do an emote where he's doing his Rick dance. And Soulja Boy, I believe on Twitch, was streaming himself playing Fortnite as Rick Sanchez, and decides to do a little dance break and play an emote, and then starts freestyle rapping over the madness. Let's see if we can play like a little bit of it.
Okay.
Ricky Morty.
I don't have the sound, so I'll let
Ricky
you
Morty.
do your thing.
Ricky Morty. Ricky Morty. Ricky Morty. Rick. Ricky Morty. Ricky Morty. Ricky Morty. Ricky Morty. Ricky Morty.
You know what? I don't want to play too much of that. He basically just said Rick and Morty a bunch of times in the clip that I played. He does start rapping a little bit more, but you know, I don't want to steal his IP, right? That's his gig.
If he says Rick and Morty a lot and that's basically his rap, I'm a famous rapper.
You've got it. You've got it down, Brandon.
Because we've been doing it for years on this show,
Yeah.
where we say Rick and Morty a lot. We are rappers right now.
But yeah, that is all over the interwebs. So if you want to see the full version of Soulja Boy's rap to Rick dancing in Fortnite, just Google it, or you can check the link in the description.
All right. Well, I love talking about music here on the show. And one musical interlude that we always have on every episode, so long as I can remember, is of course the Dan Harmon Social Media Minute.
Dan Harmon, social media, Dan, social media, Dan Harmon.
I hate you. I hate you for that. I'm gonna call you Soul Travja Boy.
Travja Boy here. All right, everybody. This week in Dan Harmon's Social Media Minute, we have a Instagram post that is almost exclusively text. This is an image of Dan Harmon replying to a post by Anjelina Jolie _official. This is a message that says, leave a message for Anjelina Jolie in the comments, with a down pointing finger emoji and a heart emoji. For those listening in the audio space, the default photo for this account is Angelina Jolie with a blue check mark in the photo. Not next to the username, but in the photo. And of course, Dan Harmon can't help but respond, saying, "Hi, Angelina, it's Dan Harmon. I can't sleep, so I'm browsing Instagram and thought I would drop a line. I'm excited you finally have a profile. I mean, no, you have 900 profiles, but I'm excited you have one with a blue check mark in the photo. What else is going on? I see the Billie Eilish spelling fandom is heavily divided over something. I know this will sound evil, but it almost makes me wish there was a world war, just to give the kids something to focus on. Okay, I might finally be sleepy. Love you. Bye." And his first comment is, "Fake Angelina is my Sandman with a ton of sheep." So, yeah, that's how Dan Harmon falls asleep at night, everybody, is leaving very long comments for Angelina Jolie fan accounts.
You'll be happy to know, Travis, that I saw that post this morning on Instagram as I was trying not to wake up my wife. You'll be happy to know that this is one of the few weeks where I also saw a Dan Harmon Social Media Minute.
Look at us. Look at us. Who'd have thought?
Look at us.
Who'd have thought? Not me.
I love Paul Rudd.
It's the best.
Yeah. Also, I was listening to "All Right Now" by Free, and the singer of Free is the same singer from the band Bad Company, who sings songs such as "Bad Company" and "Shining Star." And I was driving home and I was like, what is the lead singer's name? It's Paul something, and I was like, Steve Rogers. Is it Paul Rogers? I don't know if that sounds right. By the way, Free is the lead singer, Paul Rogers, and Bad Company, the singer, is Paul Rogers, who then went on to sing with Queen for a little bit, but then Adam Lambert came over and is now singing with Queen. Okay, that's all I want to say.
Pop music history with Brandon Cruz.
Moving on. I mean, what else do we have to talk about?
I mean, that's about
else.
it. That's about it for this segment. If I mean, obviously, getting into season 5, I'm sure there will be a lot more news to speak of as we go through this season. If you see a particular news story, and I'm talking to you, Unity, if you see or hear of a particular Rick and Morty news segment that you think we should be covering on the podcast, make sure to send it to us either at rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com or in a tweet, and we might include it in one of our next episodes. Now, the time has come for the moment I've been waiting for, and I believe you have been waiting for.
Yes.
It's time for the main thing.
All right now, baby, it's all right now. It's the main thing, yeah. Baby, that's the main thing now. Woo! 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 Yeah! Woo! Yeah! Bad Company! Main thing now. Woo! All right! Now!
He tied it all together, ladies and gentlemen. He tied it all together. That's right. It's time for the main thing. And as we hinted at earlier in the episode, we had some very special guests join us this week. The executive producers of the Vindicators web series, as well as the credited writers for Vindicators 3, the season 3 episode. Gosh, has it been that long?
Yeah,
Has
it has
that
been.
long?
It has been that long. Yeah, it was like it was in like the first half of season 3, as a matter of fact. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But anyway, Sarah Carbiener and
And
Erica
Rosbe.
Rosbe.
Yeah.
I got it, man.
It rhymes with Losby.
Rosbe. Yeah, that's what it rhymes with. Yeah, they were amazing. We're so excited to share this interview with you. We talked about all sorts of things. Talked about the upcoming web series. We went back and looked at the Vindicators episode itself, as well as all sorts of other topics. Brandon, anything stand out to you before we get into the bones of this interview?
The bones of this interview. I just I'll talk about it more at the end, but they were just they were very, very cool to talk to. My internet sucked, and they forgave that, and so always shout out to both of them for hanging out with us. I do want to throw this little bit this excerpt from what the synopsis of the show is before we get into the interview. Answer the Vindy Beacon and join your old pals Supernova, Vance Maximus, Alan Rails, Crocubot, and Noob as they fight crime, avert genocides, and yuck it up without Rick and Morty. This show, The Vindicators, the web series, produced by Erica Rosbe, Sarah Carbiener, Dan Harmon, and Justin Roiland. So I'm looking forward to the show. Let's get into the interview. Of course, it is Sarah and Erica and Brandon and Travis going into this episode. And if you're ready, Travis, we'll make the transition.
Away we go.
Sarah, Erica, thank you so much. Honestly, for coming out here, spending a little bit of time with us today to talk about the Vindicators. Here's the thing. We do a Rick and Morty podcast. I don't know if you know. And we do it.
What is this? What is happening?
How did I get here?
I thought this was a podcast about murder.
It was. Well, it started off, and then it migrated eventually. It's actually This Is Your Life, and so Sarah, Erica, glad you're here, so we can talk about your lives. We do have some questions about that actually, but we have some questions about the Vindicators web series that was announced recently. So the first question we really want to ask is, what made you want to revisit this group of characters and make it a focus of the new web series?
I think it just felt like there was some untapped things to do with them. They are such a unit already that it felt like that could be the basis for something more, and so it felt like, since there is so much superhero stuff out there, but it did feel like the Vindicators, like the individual characters of them, we spent so much time sort of coming up with what is an actual sort of unique take on each one. So it did feel like, okay, there's something more to explore here. Yeah, and there's just
I want to pause it real fast there, Travis, and just point out that first person speaking, because we didn't do a good job of announcing the names ahead of time. The first person speaking, that was Erica Rosbe speaking, and the nice young woman who's going to speak now is, of course, Sarah. So getting back to it.
Just so much implied history between them and like individually that just an opportunity to get to see any of that was really, really exciting.
So when Vindicators the episode came out, right? Which you're both credited as writing that episode. So thank you for not only doing that episode but now doing the web series. You know, it was during a time of the Avengers and all that type of stuff, and I know that the Rick and Morty production schedule wasn't necessarily you were trying to match it up with the Avengers, but was that more of a thought after the episode came out, like, oh, like, no, we really do need to explore more of these kind of these archetypes, I suppose you say?
I think after the episode came out, it was wanting to like explore them more, had more to do, like Erica said, with just how much work we had put into creating each of them and how much like depth we felt was there. And yeah, and like what superheroes in a Rick and Morty universe are like and how they function between adventures and all of that, because you know all of these, a lot of the superhero stuff we get to see now is like very like, here's the fight, here's the battle. And what's so fun about so many things in this universe is like lifting up the curtain on that and showing, you know, like the dark side, the cynicism, the reality, like all of that. So yeah, I think that I think like the original like idea for the episode came about from, you know, how Rick would feel about superheroes, and then creating superheroes that match that vision that he has.
Well, and I love how the episode sort of you only get like a snapshot in time for their whole character arcs and everything. And often like now with the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you just watch one movie, you only get like a little piece of the story. And you have to go and watch so much other stuff to really get to know the characters. So the fact that you guys have the opportunity to go and revisit these characters and really maybe flesh out a little bit more of how those relationships work between them, and it's not just, you know, having to go through Rick's version of Saw to like I'm excited to hear more about sort of what makes each character tick as well. So
yeah. Like always in the last half of every superhero movie, everybody's sort of like, you know, come up with ways to make it super interesting, but it always becomes like the world's ending and we're racing here. And it's like just becomes sort of almost so big, I start to disengage. So one of the like exciting parts I think about this is just showing the off hours, showing the weird times they're just hanging out with themselves. Cause that stuff sort of like, you know, the ending to you know, they're going to save the world. You know, sometimes it'll, you know, they'll all die and then they'll come back in a couple of movies later. But yeah, so this was just really about showing those like weird little human or not human moments. But yeah.
Now, so with this being a web series, is there any difference for you in how you approach writing for a web series versus like doing something for cable? Is the process any different?
Oh yeah, I think it's super different in that I think we have this, you know, counterintuitive take on length, where the shorter something is, almost the more freedom you have to play and mess around and do something kind of like idiosyncratic and fun. I feel this way about like going from like features to 1 hour to half hour. It's like the shorter you get, just like, which makes no sense because you're going from 30 pages to 3. But there's a certain like freedom in that. You know, because it's like this tiny playground that's almost weirder and more fun. So we definitely approach it differently. But yeah, they've been so much fun to work on.
The Twilight Zone, the original series, it was like half an hour episodes, right? 22 minutes or so. But then they had a brief period where they're an hour long. And a lot of folks don't like that season because when it expanded out, they lost some kind of economy of storytelling when they expanded it out. Would you say that working on a web series when we have 5-minute episodes really kind of forces you to work on that economy of storytelling?
Definitely. I think one of the things that just to again like talk about movies and things that are in the culture right now, we're getting a lot of prequels, and some of them are amazing. Like I don't want to slam all prequels, but I find that so many of them answer questions that I never would have asked, and I don't care about the answers. Like I don't want those answers. Like they're not entertaining. They're not satisfying. Yeah, you've told me another piece of their backstory, but like I don't. It's not really an entertaining side of the character. So yeah, the like because these have to be so short, there's not even room to answer the questions you don't want to answer or raise the questions that just ruin the fun. Because I think people think that they want more, detail and information and backstory than they actually do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you want to have fun with these characters. You don't want to hear like, why are Noob Noob's eyes like that? Like, that's like, if we explain why Noob Noob's face is crooked, like there goes the magic of Noob Noob. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you have to like get to the premise as fast as possible. Like, okay, and then like 20 seconds later, turn it and then turn it again and turn it again, and then like end with like a blow or a punchline. So yeah, it's way. Sorry, I've got the screaming baby now. But yeah.
I think there's an awkward pause here.
You mentioned something a few minutes ago as far as like it reminded me as we interviewed Alex Fearer for he talked about Rick's New Hat, the comic that he wrote over there, and part of his thing was he comic books they start and they have like these massive events and they introduce these characters and sometimes with these crossovers like there's stories that are happening behind the scenes and to the right, and if you want the whole picture then you've got to buy all these different series. With comics who kind of create stories that are non-canon, this is kind of leading into the web series, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, if this is outside the scope of what you could answer, but is this web series like part of that kind of main continuity, or is it kind of sit in a space of infinite universes?
Yeah, so this one is part of canon. Is it C-137? Which was one of the first questions we sort of had with Adult Swim. We're like, so is this, can we? So we are, but it also kind of what I think is so cool about the Rick and Morty universe is since we're dealing in so many different realities, it does almost not really matter that much what's canon, what's not, because there's so many different versions that
Well, I think Travis's follow-up question that he wrote, and I think he left it in the questions, was, does it even matter? It probably doesn't even matter, does it?
I don't think you'd enjoy anything less if you were like, this isn't quite the one.
I'm sure there are some fans out there that are like, I have to know, does this all tie together? Does this somehow get me back to Evil Morty? So yeah, I know that some people are always going to make that association.
Yeah, well, it's definitely like, yeah, like Erica said, it's main canon for sure. But oh my God, like it's hard to think of a bigger universe than the Rick and Morty universe. So yeah, it's definitely like on that line. But yeah, like gonna see new stuff.
All right.
I'm so bad at talking around things. I'm sorry.
No, you're doing a phenomenal job. So one question that I have is who is your favorite Vindicator and why is it Noob Noob?
Contract. Do you want to?
I mean, or whoever it is. I mean, yeah, that's not meant to be leading.
I would say Ants, definitely Million Ants, because he's not like he has definite like issues of just sort of like being a person, being a hero, but also he is an entire colony. He is a collective. He is like a society. So like one of the ideas we didn't end up doing, but like it was like, what if Million Ants Collective decides to unionize or something, or we have these ideas about like following an individual ant inside of him and just like the whole life cycle of them, and they're but he's I think that's one that's always been one of my favorites. But yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah.
I also really, really love Million Ants. But then I think a close second is Supernova. She's the only, only woman on Vindicators 3. This was an idea that like we threw out like on the wiki for this show. She's not listed as the leader, and she's the fucking leader. like I, like if she knew that, like she would destroy solar systems, because it's like, what does she have to do to get some fucking respect? Like she can implode planets. Like hell, she's the leader.
I'm making a note to update the wiki, right?
I almost made an account to do it, and I was like, no, I can't do it. That's a step too far. But yeah, and I kind of, I love how many plates she has spinning, and how she's both trying to be like a person with her own goals and dreams, but then also lead this team of superheroes, but then lead it in a world where there's a Rick Sanchez. And like, what does it mean to lead a team of superheroes, most of whom don't respect her or fucked her and hate her now? Like in a world with Rick. So yeah, I like kind of how much conflict is heaped upon this star lady.
Love.
All right, so that was the first part of our interview. We really focus on trying to talk about the web series in that first little bit. Travis, what kind of things did you glean from that part of the interview?
My favorite thing about it is sort of that pulling back the curtain a little bit, that inside scoop about what went into the characters, like what I don't know, just that perspective of even just hearing about whether it's Million Ants or and any of the Vindicators, like getting a different perspective of Supernova being the leader, like making that clear if that wasn't clear in the episode, which clearly it wasn't, because I think that wiki still hasn't been updated. I have not fulfilled on my promise yet. But yeah, so getting that additional perspective, and I think that's something that we're gonna see even more as we look at this web series and as the episodes come out, is I think they'll be able to reinforce some of those roles and those connections between the characters, and really just increase our knowledge of who the Vindicators are and what makes them who they are.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't clear in the point I was trying to kind of segue in from the comic stuff, which was, when we talked to Alex and we talked to Fred, we talked about like Crisis on Infinite Earths. We talked about Identity Crisis. I don't remember if we talked on the actual interview or if we talked about that afterwards. But I got into comics. Identity Crisis was a thing I got into, and it was a big, massive crossover event. One of the most dire ones, as Fred and Alex said. But there's this character, Dr. Light, who is a Teen Titans villain, who is like, he's kind of a joke character. You see him in Teen Titans Go. He's a joke character. Nobody cares about him. He's not a real threat, but yet he is like the catalyst behind this entire crossover event. I knew nothing about it based off of those 5 issues of Identity Crisis. And so in a way, what I got from the Vindicators web series is that, like, you have all these disparate comics that tell backstories of these characters. This is like one of those issues of those side comics where you are getting a glimpse behind the curtain into the lives of these characters who you just kind of popped into in the Vindicators 3 episode, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah, it's the third one. We still haven't seen 1 and 2, right?
they have a comics history, and we haven't seen it yet. And that's I'm looking forward to that curtain being peeled back. Not voyeuring, right? Like being welcome in there
in an appropriate and legal way. But yeah, all this talk about the Vindicators web series, we still had some lingering questions about the original Vindicators episode. So we wanted to take this opportunity while we had both of them here for an interview to ask some of those questions and ask a little bit about the process and what went into the development of the original Vindicators 3 episode.
So we have a few like lingering questions still from Vindicators 3.
Just like you said, Travis.
Recently went back and watched it, and like obviously there is a Saw sort of homage in that episode. But it also like jabs at the popularity of those superhero films. So which came first? Was it make like a superhero episode, or was it like we're gonna do a Saw episode, but you're not gonna know until halfway through?
Definitely superhero first. And you talk to people about the process of writing the show and how things can just constantly be reinventing themselves over and over and over again. And we had several versions, and I think that we ultimately landed on Saw because drunk Rick needed a hack way to punish them. And he thinks the Saw movies like all that stuff is hack, and they're not worthy of like a like a crazy amazing Spanish horror movie demise. Like they get like Saw 7.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely superheroes first.
Just make 3-pointers. Just I don't know. Just figure it out. Yeah.
And it kind of gets into also like the spoofing the idea of just the endless sequels and sequels and sequels. So I think the first version of this was gonna be like Vindicators or 2, but it was like the team had done 1, and then Morty had a crush on a girl who'd been his age on the last one, but then she went through puberty, and so it was kind of playing with how like women age a little faster than men. So she was already sort of on like the adult team, and Morty was stuck on the B team with the rest of the like noob and a bunch. So there was this whole other version of the plot that revolved around Morty and his
and initially, like I don't think this made it to the actual story circle set, but that made me remember that initially there was like a thing where Rick got the Vindicators into some kind of trouble on some planet, and Morty was like, how dare you? And then they go to try to fix it, and Rick goes to a different planet with like a different set of superheroes that are similar, and like he just like fucked it up and like crossed his wires, and like Morty's like, these aren't even my heroes, like why are we here? And like Rick was drunk on a lawn in his underwear talking to like a knockoff Batman. I don't remember why.
Wasn't there one where all the Vindicators were brute, or he was like, I can fight you with a bunch of brute? I don't know.
There was something where, he was just like, I'll fight you with a broom and one arm tied behind my back. But then we were making Pickle Rick. So it was like, well, we can't have, like weird fighting limitations. Also, But yeah, it was a lot of like, but I would say the through line of all of them was like, Rick always thought they were pointless, and Morty had a boyhood love for them that got destroyed.
Fair enough.
It's like growing up and realizing that your parents were just people like you, and you're like, oh yeah, you're just kids raising kids,
and they don't know anything, and
and it does feel like things just always get taken away from Morty. It's like if he likes something, like it gets ruined. It's just he can't have nice things.
It's true.
What was that the noob gag, the twist that it was all for noob at the end, as the story was starting to get built out, was that like, okay, yeah, that's our big that's our big reveal? Like, were there any other ideas for that? Was there a bit where it might have been a more genuine, like it was for Morty, and then they're like, no, let's turn it on its head?
I think that was it. I think it was like, oh, it's going to be Morty. And then it was like, okay, how do we undercut this? How do we make it not genuine? How do we put a punchline on it? So there is like that element of genuineness where you're like, oh, it was Morty. And then it's like, nope, we're flipping it. This is Rick.
I was just gonna say, I love the way you execute that, where like Morty has that like feeling of like, oh, he genuinely like he does, and then I was like, yeah, noob, and then just like his face and everything, just like the change when he realizes it's phenomenal. Yeah.
Well, your alcoholic dad always lets you down. Like that's like that was the other thing. It was like, it's like we need like to end on the funny, but also Rick cannot redeem himself in any way this episode. Like Morty had to disarm a bomb. Like it's just not, would not be okay.
So there, the through line of season 3, with Rick, not Rick, like Morty. It seemed to us, and we're not behind the scenes, right? It seemed to us that was a season of Morty kind of like separating himself from Rick a little bit more, and especially early on, because Vindicators is fairly early on in the season, starting to realize like a self-sufficient, so to speak, was as far as like story circle, right? We know all about Harmon's story circle. Like, are seasons put together like where individual episodes have story circle, but then there's an overarching kind of story circle for the season when you're writing it out?
No, we didn't really. Like, the only sort of like definite story thing for season 3 was the divorce. But then we weren't sort of plotting the whole season out on a story circle. It was like, I think, really meant to like each episode can stand alone. But if I don't remember well enough to, so correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, and I think just like naturally with the way we were breaking stories that season, yeah, you were following his disillusionment. And it was, I just think, sort of naturally had to build because you break things in order. But yeah, it wasn't on a larger story arc because it's like we wanted everything to function out of order. And even with the divorce stuff, it's just use it in such a way that like if you saw the finale first, like it wouldn't, it wouldn't throw you. But again, like Eric said, it was a few years ago.
Yeah. We're reaching back. We're reaching way back.
Yeah.
We do have a question, and so were there characters, were there ideas for superheroes that sort of didn't make the final episode? And obviously, if you reserve the right to use them in the web series or whatever. But
knitting lady. I loved her.
She like made all the characters' costumes, and I think she was giant for some reason. We had a bunch of stretchy guys, like because at first it was like, okay, let's think of these superhero tropes, and then we'll like twist them. But then we're sort of like anybody who was kind of just a trope we ended up pulling out. Like we kept calling them the incest twins, and they were like a brother and sister, kept doing really sexual things, but it just kind of felt like it was too ambiguously gay duo, like just not, we weren't kind of expanding on that. So yeah, the ones that survived were ones that just like felt funny to everybody in and of themselves.
I just remember the drawing on the whiteboard, and I was like, she's never making the cut, but I love her so much.
She is like the in the Incredibles, like what's that character's name?
Edna Mode or what?
Yeah, but a grandma, and like Ant-Man when he gets huge. In Civil War.
Which would actually be harder to be that big and knit costumes for regular people. But
just skilled.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Very fine dexterity.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Her eyes were great still, despite her age, man. She knew what she was doing. Also, knit costumes would maybe be the worst thing to have in the world.
It's like wool. It just doesn't. It's awful.
What shaping? Like
for her, Marvel, cinematic universe.
Yeah, but in my head canon, she knit Alan Rails' overalls.
That's good.
Yeah, because he's such a masochist. He needs like that burlap shirt. He's always punishing himself. So.
That's the behind the scenes exclusives you get on this podcast that you don't get.
It's not in the shorts.
You can add that to the Wikipedia. It's known that Alan Rails is
There's going to be a whole knitting lady fan fiction like series that's
oh my god.
I'm sure that'll come out of this. So
all right, knitting lady fan fiction. You heard it here first. If you want to be the first to show us Knitting Lady, be sure to send that to us at Rick and Morty Pod, or Not Another Sarah, or Crash Rosbe over on Twitter.
we want to see those knitting ladies. So make sure you start your writing, your creative writing, put it together. I think that's so cool. I mean, obviously, I'm guessing because we got to talk about Knitting Lady and some of those stretchy folk, that they're not going to appear in the web series, but just really cool to hear some of those characters and just all of the different perspectives about what went into some of the decisions for coming up with this episode.
Yeah, agreed, man. Because in season 3, I think the last person we talked to was either Brian Newton or Ryan Ridley. It was I think Ryan Ridley before the Morty's Mind Blowers.
Right.
Um, and like those were the last people we talked to from the show going in before season 4. And so being able to talk to Erica and Sarah about the Vindicators episode, by the way, Brian Newton, who directed the Vindicators episode as well,
Yeah.
being able to talk to them, like this opportunity to also talk a little bit about the past, even though it was like what 2016, 2017 when they were actually writing and working on that episode.
It's been a minute, so yeah, we were definitely stretching their memory a little bit.
But they have been writing together for a long time, and we both wanted to get into some of the behind the scenes for their writing process, and especially in this last year. So that's kind of where
it's
going.
time for Travis to bring the energy and the fun
Yeah.
of this interview way down and talk about, you know, a global pandemic and things like that. So we talked a little bit more about just writing and writing in the worst time in our current civilization.
Yep.
We do have a few like just general writing process type questions. Like obviously we are coming out of a crazy year. COVID kind of changed how everything happened. How did that affect writing for you? Did it make things easier, harder? Like how did that work?
Oh.
Heavy question. I know, just drop that in there.
Yeah, like there were a couple of good things, like Zoom. There's no commutes now, as you may have heard. LA is. Are you guys in LA or where? Wait, where are you based?
I just moved here.
Ah, nice. Welcome. It's not like this. There's normally horrible traffic and you can't go anywhere. So everything takes forever. So that's nice. You just log into Zoom instead if you have a meeting or something. But then all the bad parts, there's been so many bad parts, which is like children can't go places. They're just in your space. And then you're just, especially when we were on super lockdown, it was just like not being able to go have experiences and see people and hear, you know, like all those things that put input. Like after I got vaccinated, I went to the bank and this guy was he was sending some coins to get authenticated. And I was just like, what is this man? And what is his story? And I just realized how much I missed like hearing just the chatter of strangers and stuff.
Yes.
So yeah. So true victim of the pandemic was me.
And I think it's like unavoidable that like stuff has been getting darker. I think this is already a very like existentially angsty show.
Right.
And I don't think like working on these during a pandemic like lessened that. Like I don't, you know, like if anything, it's just like reminding yourself like, oh yeah, levity, like laughing, like just because, yeah, I think that, and I think it's finding ways to like while writing, like just to make sure like, oh yeah, I need to entertain myself first, and then that'll make everybody else laugh. And like a little bit of like constantly reminding yourself like, oh no, like we're still making things, like they're still going to be fun, they're still going to be enjoyable, they're still going to have an audience, so you're going to be connecting with strangers even though you're never going to get to see any of them. But yeah, and then being trapped in at home all day with like a demanding toddler like just means like writing really fucking fast. like what I can do with 10 minutes now, holy shit. Like,
the efficiency is so much better. It's
oh my god. Yeah. Like yeah, I'm so excited to pawn her off on other people. Yeah.
Harmon mentioned at one point in time talking about writing on Zoom and writer's room on Zoom, making things. Speaking about efficiency. Have you found that is true? That like pitching ideas is much quicker on Zoom, because if somebody doesn't think it's funny, then obviously nobody reacts, and then you just okay, well that joke. Moving on.
It's also so much harder to just read people and tell how people are reacting and stuff too, because you're looking at the square. I sort of like when I'm pitching, I feel like I go into a weird fugue state, which probably happens in person too. But it's like it's like I can't look at the screen, so I just look at something else, and then you're like, wait, did they laugh? And then you don't hear when they laugh on Zoom, so it's just
oh right.
Yeah, because it's like we've pitched a couple, like just pitch, not like in a writer's room on Zoom, and everybody will mute themselves, and it's like pitching into a brick wall. So sometimes when you're on certain things, you can tell like, oh, I can see people laughing, like that joke landed, that was funny, and that was getting in. But like if you're breaking like emotional stuff and character stuff, it's really hard to read if that's clicking with anybody. But yeah, it's like I can see once you're like into like the comedy, it's like, oh, you can kind of move through that. But yeah, like I think breaking story gets a little harder because you can't, like when you're in person, you can feel out what everyone's thinking and like it, because that's not always going to be like, haha, you know, like, unless people are doing like chin on the fist and like looking at you, which nobody does. Like nobody's over emoting for you on Zoom, but that would be great if they did. Like anybody in a writer's room listening to this podcast, please over emote whenever anybody's talking, so they know what the fuck you think. Like it'd be so helpful.
We're gonna build a new system of like emotional nonverbal reactions because everybody's like trying to oversell it for Zoom, or they're not using the lower half of their face because it was covered with a mask for like a year, so they're just.
Yeah, if I run a Zoom room, I'm sending everybody Buster Keaton movies, and it's like, watch these and do this when I talk, please, so I know what you think. Like,
nice. The other question I wanted to ask along the lines of you know, we don't have to linger too much more on this pandemic thing. Hopefully, you know, it's eventually out of our lungs. I don't know, whatever. In your writing over this last year, do you make an intentional choice to like try to avoid acknowledging that COVID was a thing in your writing, or do you kind of incorporate your experiences through the year in it? Does it make sense?
Yeah. We kind of just in the things we were working on just avoided it because it felt like by the time they come out, no one's going to want to like hear about it. No one's going to want to see people on and you can't sort of predict when masks will go away, when we'll get sick of it. But I think it's almost like, and there was this weird, a similar thing happened apparently in the 1920s, like after the Spanish flu, nobody wanted to talk about it, which is why you don't really hear much about the Spanish flu. It's like, oh, this big giant thing happened, but prohibition, woo! It's just like what we lived through was so exactly, we're dancing now. It was so rough that it's like, we don't want to relive it. I did see an amazing, I don't know if you watch Mythic Quest, but they did an amazing pandemic episode, which I was like so prepared to be like, for it to be depressing, and it was just wonderful. So I feel like some people are handling it so well, but yeah, we personally avoided it.
Yeah, and this is probably a dangerous turn to take this answer in, but we were in college in New York around 9/11, and I think my freshman year was like 2 years after it. So it was right as all of these plays were going up, like on Broadway and off Broadway, that were about it, and none of like they were all just like 2 hours of suffering. Like none of them were entertaining. Even the ones that were trying to be funny weren't funny. And it's just burned into my brain. Like I know that when you're making art or you're doing anything, like you have to acknowledge what's happening in the culture, but there are certain things that close, like within 2 years of 9/11, like going and seeing a play about 9/11, because like as a freshman at NYU, they're like, play tickets, here, go. It was awful. So maybe in like 5, 10, 15 years. Like, and I know like with Mythic Quest or Bo Burnham, like people are nailing it right now, and they're a student, like it is possible, but just like personally, like I don't think I want to touch it for a long time, because just having had that experience of seeing all that stuff in the immediate aftermath, and none of it, it wasn't cathartic. Like it was hard to sit through. So yeah, that's kind of how I don't want to see a mask. I don't want to see like, you know, a bunch of people on ventilators. Like it just, for a little while, you know, and then they'll do something terrific next year, and I'll be like, well, fuck, I wish I'd done something like that. But yeah, it just, yeah, that sound.
That I understand completely. So one of the things we noticed, right? Because believe it or not, we did a little bit of prep for this interview. You two have been working together for quite a while, and you guys continue to work together on projects. Like, how did that kind of come to be, and how is that relationship working together on like a variety of projects helped with even like just the Vindicators web series or anything else that you're working on?
Yeah. So we met in college. I was stage managing a play, and then Sarah came on, and I had just written a South Park spec, so I had like pages and pages of this script all over the sound booth thing. And she was like, "What are you doing? This is madness." And I was like, "Take a TV class." And yeah. And
The
then
soccer episode where they were playing the cones. I remember it. Yeah, and then Erica, when she graduated, started working for a video game company and helped me get a job there. And that was where we just started writing all the time and like rewriting each other and reading each other's stuff. And then a little while after that, we decided to start writing stuff together.
All right. Before we go any further, before we go into the next part of this little segment, we talk about COVID. Sarah mentions it being too soon after 9/11, and it might be too soon after COVID, which always reminds me of like World War II movies, right? Like World War II movies came out so soon after World War II, and there has to be part of that which was like where people didn't see the horrors of war yet. And so like you can still kind of glorify it, right? You had Sam Peckinpah, you had some of those other John Ford, John Huston, yeah. A couple of those like famous directors back in the day that they made movies like glamorizing the efforts of the Americans in the war and stuff like that. And then like once Vietnam started, then you started like having to do like allegories, about 8-10 years later. So like Aliens is a Vietnam allegory, or like Platoon, stuff like that, right? And yeah, like it can be that distance between a major event and when we can talk about it and start making art and accepting of the art. I think it gets a little bit further away. I remember when like Flight 82 or Flight 92 or whatever came out.
Yeah.
It was about what happened on the flight that flew into the Pentagon, I think.
I thought that was the one that went down like in a field somewhere.
That's right. That's right. It was like it came out like too soon to 9/11 for me to be like, I feel like this is, and I'm not a too soon guy, but that felt
you're
too.
Definitely not a too soon guy. Yeah, I felt like that was a really interesting conversation to have, and I appreciate them being open and honest about that, and I really appreciate them being open and honest about this next and this next little section that we're going to talk about as we were digging through IMDb and getting a sense of the history of the projects that they've worked on. You may have heard Sarah refer to a video game company that they worked on. One of the very first credits on both of their IMDb's is Grey's Anatomy, the video game.
Oh, and let's get into that right now. They probably gonna be mad at us for playing this segment, but it's so fun.
I have to ask this question on behalf of Travis. I'm sorry. I have to ask this question because Travis has been fawning over this a bit in your IMDb, which is you mentioned you worked at a video game company.
Mm-hmm.
That Grey's Anatomy, the video game for the Nintendo Wii. How was that? I know this is not part of the main interview, but that is so amazing.
But this is what I'm here for. I saw that on one IMDb, and then I went and checked. I was like, okay, it has to be brought up. Like, how was that experience? And that's just, I didn't even know that game existed, and it is now my favorite video game just because it's so.
Have you played it?
No, not at all. I
It'll
watched.
stay your favorite if you don't play it.
Yeah.
So don't touch it. Yeah.
Leave it alone.
Yeah, it was ABC was like, I guess, selling a lot of licenses. So different game studio got Lost and our studio got Grey's Anatomy. And they were trying to, I think, like broaden the female audience for the Wii. It was also like our big deadline. I don't think it matters if we spoil any of this, but the big thing was like, we've got to get it out. So we're one of 6 games because the Wii was like launching and stuff. So the whole point wasn't to make the best game in the world. It was just to be like one of the first, so people would have to buy it.
It was super successful. No. And yeah, we wrote, the limitations on like writing that game were insane. Like we had to write 150 word scenes because that's all we would have for VO and mocap. And then they would have to be like on establishing an episode of Grey's Anatomy that you could play, choose your own dialogue, also setting up like medical procedures and dying patients. It was insanity. We were paying med students to be our consultants. So all they would do would be like, no, that's wrong. Like they were treating us like they were trying to get an A in med school. And it's like, no, your job is to help us fake it. Like your job is to help us. Oh my God. Yeah, so it was a crazy process. And then like, when you're choosing your own I don't know, I'm telling you how to play the game. When you're choosing your own dialogue, it's a mini game, but it's not a mini surgery game. It's like a mini emotional game. So Eric's heard the story 9,000 times, but my little brother got a hold of it and he played it and he was like, I'm playing as Richard and I'm drowning in a sea of doubt. What do I do? Because the mini game was point the Wiimote at the screen and fling clouds of doubt away. And I was like, I didn't play that far in the game. I can't help you. I don't know. It was insane.
That's phenomenal. I thank you for that existing.
Yeah, I didn't mean to like stumble into a walkthrough, but
no. Maybe that in a future episode. But yeah. That is phenomenal. And I'm not a personal fan of Grey's Anatomy, but my wife loves the show. So like I know enough to get by. And I watched like 5 minutes of a walkthrough somebody did online of that game. And I was just like, this is phenomenal. The fact that, yeah, when it
tried
got to
so hard.
when it got to like the first like choice in an elevator about like how this is kudos. Really great stuff.
I'm trying to remember. I think my favorite choice was like you could slap a guy. Like I don't remember who it was, but it was like playing one of the female characters. You could slap a guy or take off your shirt.
And if your wife's birthday is coming up, this is a gift you'll not see coming ever. Maybe
I'll go find the Wii in the garage and we'll
you'll have to find your Wii.
Dust it off. And,
dust it.
For our Grey's Anatomy podcast, we'll bring you on to talk all about it. That coming this fall on ABC.
It was also, I watched the show beforehand and then after that game could not watch it. So there's been like 27 seasons or whatever after it. And it's just like too many flashbacks and yeah.
You want to talk about a show addressing COVID? That last season, I heard a lot about what was happening.
I heard they really hit it like on the news.
Yeah. Anyway, this is exactly what our Rick and Morty listeners came here to hear.
I mean, like, yeah. Do they think Meredith Grey is finally leaving the show? Like,
I know. Stay tuned in our post show.
Could they tell us?
The sixth Vindicator. Vindicator cancer. Yeah.
The sixth Vindicator, Grey's Anatomy, the video game for the Nintendo Wii.
That's the news that we break on this podcast. That is the reason you keep coming back, Unity, is to find out that Meredith Grey will in fact be the sixth Vindicator on the web series. You heard it here first. Cannot
That's
confirm.
So cool.
Might have been a joke. It's probably not real. If you see that quoted on a comic book website or something,
comicbook.com.
It was taken out of context. But no, that was so much fun, and yeah, if you want to see some clips of Grey's Anatomy, the video game, some of their finest work, possibly, yeah, you can check that out online.
I do want to, before we get into the final question, I do want to commend them for not suing us for letting us air that Grey's Anatomy bit. Because it's super fun, right? And legitimately interested in that piece of their history. And it's fun too because it's going back into the Vindicators, and they are a huge part of our fandom. Uh, they have created stuff that we all reference still. So it's good to know that history of the writers and the producers, to know what makes them tick, and to know what essentially makes us tick. Grey's
Yeah.
Anatomy.
I just think it's great that they did not turn down an opportunity, right? They were working at this company. Yeah, the other studio got the Lost game, but all right, we're gonna do our best to make the best Grey's Anatomy game we can. And if you do well in that, one day you could be writing an episode of Rick and Morty, or producing television, and they're doing amazing things right now. So just very cool to see where they came from and what they're doing now.
And where they're going. So for the final question, our closing, we did bring it back to the Vindicators web series. This is a fairly short clip, but I think it's important. Roll it. Oh, I'm the one with the buttons.
The last question I think we want to ask is there anything that you are really excited that you can hint at, obviously not spoil, because you can't do that, but anything you're excited for fans of Rick and Morty, fans of the Vindicators to see, like is there anything you could leave us with?
Oh,
I didn't even know he was going to ask this. I'm invested now.
That's hard. I'm just thinking of phrasing.
I want to give you the last word, the last redacted word.
I'm really excited for people to see some of the Vindicators let their hair down and see what happens.
Hey, I like that. I like that. All right. Erica, what about you?
I'm gonna go with what she said.
Awesome. That's a perfectly safe answer. I like it.
And that's the kind of skilled partnership you get from working on Grey's Anatomy, the video game for the Nintendo Wii.
We could do heart surgery now.
I just want to say that you are all both so great, and I know I can speak for Travis too, and I will speak for him. You better not say anything after this. We really appreciate you both coming on the show and talking to us, and in going through Vindicators, the web series, going through a little bit of the history of Vindicators 3, and some other video game stuff.
Certain other hit video games that
will be cut way down, I'm sure.
Yeah, and thank you so much. You guys are awesome and excited to listen more to your show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
And that, as I say, is that thank you again to both Sarah and Erica for coming on and chatting with us for a little bit. If you want to find out more about them, head over to Twitter. Mentioned it earlier. Not Another Sarah with an H over on Twitter. That is Sarah Carbiener. And then Erica Rosbe is Crash Rosbe, Rosbe. She is there on Twitter as well. Go follow them. They're fun times.
Yeah, follow the tweets, and then make sure to catch the Vindicators web series coming to an internet near you sometime in the future. We don't actually have a release date yet, but we're excited for that web series, and so grateful that they were willing to come on the show and talk to us. And that about does it for this interview. We really only have one more segment for this show, and that is listener suggestions and short outs. We don't do the music. Come on, guys. But this short out goes to Nick James at njames0889 over on Twitter, who, Brandon, sent you this lovely tweet.
Yes. He writes, I discovered Interdimensional RSS a month ago while getting hyped for the new season. Went back to the beginning and I just finished episode 64 plus the most recent 5. That's a lot of time listening, and I gotta say, you guys are great. I gave 5 stars on Apple, and he did, as a matter of fact. He is at Saturn
That's
Satan.
5 rapples.
This is so good. I started super late and only heard a few episodes, but it's so good. Wait, is that you? Maybe is it you? I hope it's you. If not Nick James, well, I'm shouting out somebody, but giving you credit for it. Nick also hit us up today, as a matter of fact, and said, "Ooh, I'm reading The Science of Rick and Morty by Matt Brady. You guys should interview him." And good news to you, Nick. We have, in fact, interviewed Matt Brady at Brady Writes on Twitter. He was on episode 82, I believe. Travis, is what you said. And
82, 84. It's early 80s.
82,
80s.
85.
The hair was big. The podcasts were loud. Early 80s.
Yeah. The fitness socks were a whole thing.
I don't know why we wore leg warmers for all those episodes, but
yeah. It was very hot. It was very hot in Tampa.
Warm period of podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely go check out that interview. I mean, you've listened to 64 episodes. What's another 20? Right? What's another 20? So thankful to everybody that's listening. Thankful to everybody that connects with us on social media, on Twitter, in the Twitch chat, wherever you might be. If you're leaving a comment on a YouTube video, we appreciate you. So leave us a note, leave us a message, and maybe you will get a shout out in an upcoming episode. And that next episode is going to be about the season premiere of Rick and Morty. That's right, season 5. We got a title. We got a title for season 5.
I don't know if we do yet. We have some titles for season 5.
We know what the title is. We just don't know which one it is. So
yeah. Do you want to take a guess at it right now, Travis?
Yeah, the Vindicators 4. I think that's the title of it.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. I'm gonna go with Interdimensional Cable 3, Interdimensional Cable 2. Like that's the subtitle.
The cable. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoy the show, feel free to rate, review, subscribe, wherever you consume this content. We appreciate you. And we look very forward to next week when we will be reviewing the season premiere of season 5. Until next time, I am Travis.
And I am Brandon. And we'll see you on Global Rick and Morty Day.
Bye.
Do you think it's really global, or is it just because the thing's in space?
Maybe just Northern Hemisphere.
Northern Hemisphere Rick and Morty Day.